Hi, I'm Susan Lewis from WRTI. I'm here with Laurin Talese, who opened the Philadelphia Orchestra's 2021-2022 subscription season with Lift Every Voice and Sing. Hi, Laurin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to see you.
It's nice to be seen. It's nice to see you too.
And what a beautiful way to start the subscription season for the Philadelphia Orchestra.
It really feels otherworldly to be up there singing songs that mean so much to me with this world-renowned, amazing orchestra in my hometown. So, yeah.
When did you first hear this song? Because I know it was composed in 1900 by a team of brothers. One composed the music, one composed the lyrics. And within 20 years, it became known in many communities as the Black National Anthem. So when did you first hear the song? What was your first experience with it?
I must have been in the single digits, probably five or so. It's a song that's just an institution in the Black community. So, yeah, I've grown up. I've known it since I was a kid, probably five or six. Yeah.
So would you sing it in school or?
hmm but I also was a member of performance troops and gospel choirs when I was coming up, and it was one of those tunes that I learned even in middle school and high school. As I sang in those choirs, I would sing them in the choral style. I would sing them solo. I would sing them with a gospel tinge. All sorts. Any program that I was singing at, maybe that song would be played. So I've sung it in so many different ways. So yeah.
Wow. What does it mean to you today? Because I know I was listening to a lot of your music and the music is beautiful, but the words are also very powerful.
Yeah, I am somebody who believes in uh just grateful energy and positive energy. And I know that in my own personal life, thinking affirmatively and believing things are possible is something that keeps me going. No matter what strife is being displayed on the TV screen, no matter what's going on in terms of, the COVID pandemic, any sort of negative things that are happening, if I'm thinking positively, if I'm thinking that there's light at the end of the tunnel or there's a silver lining on the clouds, I'm going to be good. And that's what that song actually speaks of. It's not only revering the African American experience and documenting and validating the experience with those lyrics, but also looking towards the horizon. And that's what I love about those lyrics. So whenever I sing it, I'm in the space of thinking about my ancestors. I'm thinking about my foremothers and my forebearers, and I'm thinking about a dark past, but a beautiful future. And that's the only thing that keeps us going, really, if we believe that there is a beautiful future to be had.
Right. It's a song about faith and hope
Yes.
and a new day.
Yes. We got to have that. That's without faith and hope, what are we living for? So, yeah,
So you're also a songwriter
I am.
and performed This Love with the orchestra. So
Yes.
what was that like?
I felt like I was walking onto the set of a 1960s Audrey Hepburn movie. I don't know. I'm the type of person that's listening to Henry Mancini and Nelson Riddle walking down the street in Mount Airy or in West Philly, in my head, in my mind, in my body, as I'm feeling and hearing the music that I normally listen to. There's so much glamour and lushness, and then I'm walking down the street sometimes and seeing contrast, grit. And I think those two things are really embodied by Philly, the glamour and the grit. So I really love that contrast. And it influences the way that I write. It influenced This Love for sure. My love of old Hollywood film scores definitely influenced how I wrote This Love. And it was always a dream to one day record it or perform it with an orchestra. That's all I thought. Did I think it was going to be literally the best orchestra in the world? Arguably, no. Did I think it was going to be conducted by Yannick? No. And I mean, the whole situation is just a dream. And I tell them that every time I see them when I sing it, it feels otherworldly, it feels magical and majestic. And I just really try to be present every time I sing it with them because it just means that much to me. It's a song, it's probably the easiest song I've ever written. It's very complex in terms of the instrumentation and the chord progressions, but in terms of the sentiment and the melody, it came to me within 30 minutes. And it always was my favorite song on my project, Gorgeous Chaos. However, now it has a whole new life and it feels brand new every time I perform it with the Philadelphia Orchestra. And I just am pinching myself literally. Am I really singing my song with the Philadelphia Orchestra? It just feels amazing. I feel so blessed and grateful by the experience. And I can't say enough about how much I enjoy being on that stage with everything in me vibrating from the strings and the woodwinds and everything that's happening. It's beautiful.
You grew up in Cleveland
Mhm.
and came to Philadelphia to study classical and jazz voice at the University of the Arts.
Yes.
You won the Sarah Vaughan International Jazz Vocal Competition in 2018.
Mhm.
And what's it like when you sing these very personal songs in a jazz setting? It's very intimate. What's it like when you sing it on a stage with an orchestra? What's different and what's the same about singing in those two different contexts?
Well, the main difference would be that I can literally, in some of the jazz rooms I play, I can literally walk off stage and stand next to who I want to sing to. And I do that often. I'm that type of person. But I almost feel like it's similar because all of the energy and the expression that I normally carry in small settings, it could go even wider because there's more people to look at. There's people up there and there's people over there and there's people over there and there's people behind me. So I have infinite love to spread around and infinite joy to spread around through that song specifically. And the orchestra is so big and I feel like it reaches even farther and it penetrates even deeper when I perform the song with the Philadelphia Orchestra.
When did you decide you wanted to become a singer?
Probably, well, my earliest memory is probably around 6 or 7 when I would just be trying to sing along with my dad and his brothers. They would always congregate over our house at the end of the week and, have a drink and make harmony to whatever the latest songs of the day were, or to the Temptations or, Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. Or after 7, I was a kid in the 90s. So it was a lot of soul and R&B, but my dad was a kid of the 70s and the 60s. So all that music was in my house as well. And I remember trying to harmonize with them and them kicking me out because they were trying to hang out with adults. And then somehow I finally was able to be heard and my dad recognized that I actually could hold a tune. So from that point on, from about 7 on, they put me in troops and choirs and stuff like that. And I'm happy they heard me. But my mom's earliest memories of me being 4 and them driving somewhere, and we were all in the car, my mom, dad, and a cousin, and I was harmonizing with the radio. So they knew then, as early as 4, that I was going to be interested in singing. So it's been an early journey for me.
Your album, Gorgeous Chaos, is really, really beautiful. And so much of your music is very, very personal. It's as if you're reaching out to the audience. People feel as if they're getting a glimpse of you as a person when you're singing. And I guess that's the same kind of feeling you just expressed, even in front of an orchestra.
Hmm. I mean, when I write, I think I'm writing from a place of human experience. I want you and I both to know that we've experienced the same thing together. You're not alone. We'll get through it for the most part. If it's in love, if it's in just general life, if it's a familial situation, whatever it is, you're not alone. We're going to get through this together. And there's someone else on this earth that has sort of walked this journey before. So I hope I'm a beacon that they'll get through whatever. Gorgeous Chaos is an album about my understanding and perception of love from the ages of 18 to like 20 something. And, you think you know everything and you feel everything so intensely, but you don't know anything yet. And you're just trying to go through it. And that's the chaos part, because you don't know anything. So you're just stumbling along, trying to figure out who you are, what you have to offer, what you want, what your standards are, all this stuff. And throughout that journey, you're finding out some stuff and learning some lessons in real time. So, and everybody's going through that. So it's been amazing to perform those songs. And then afterwards, have someone come up to me as we're taking pictures or I'm signing something. And they're like, you really helped me through this breakup, or, you really helped me look at this from another perspective. That's all I want to do. I really want people to feel deep joy and also a sort of optimism about what can sometimes seem like the end of the world. And you live long enough, nothing's really the end of the world. Time goes on, we go on.
Useful lessons during the last year and a half.
Oh, yes.
So how was the pandemic for you? How did you navigate that period? Were you in Philadelphia?
Yes, I was in Philadelphia, and I didn't go home to Cleveland for a long time. And at this point, I've lived in Philadelphia longer than I've, was in Cleveland. I was born and raised there. But literally my mom, dad, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, most of them are still in Cleveland. So previous years, I'd be able to go home, often. And because of the pandemic, that wasn't happening, especially early on. So I really had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to be really present with my feelings in a way that you're not when you're touring and you're doing all this other stuff. Right before the pandemic, I was representing the US abroad, performing as a cultural ambassador, bringing jazz to new populations. And it was amazing. I was in Ukraine, Montenegro, Poland, wow, Paris, all over the place. And, I wasn't home 6 months out of the year, and I didn't realize how much I wasn't home and how little time I had to really sit and process how I was feeling and what I was doing from day to day, because the itinerary was literally show, hotel, travel, and try to sightsee as much as you can in these different places and workshops and all kinds of things. So I was really busy, and the pandemic was like a huge halt button, and I just really had time to sit and think. And what I did was, luckily I'm really close to the Wissahickon and all these trails, so I really immersed myself in nature. I literally walked every day, just taking in whatever the season was. I didn't care. I was just out in it, having my coffee outside with my journal and just really documenting how I felt in those moments. And I think it really helped, me get my mind in a certain place and my spirit in a certain place to write the new music that I wrote. So it actually was a time I really needed, and I didn't think so at the time because my whole calendar was wiped clean. So I just was freaking out for the first couple weeks, like, wait a minute, what is happening? And I'm really grateful to still be here, and I'm really grateful to have had the time to reflect on what I wanted and where I needed to be mentally and spiritually.
You grew up in Cleveland. What made you decide to make Philadelphia your home?
I guess it was the fall. It was the beginning of the school year of 1999. I was in 11th grade, and we had college day. And I remember it like it was yesterday. We still had, since it was the late 90s, almost 2000, we still had the whole library thing where they would wheel in the cart. They would have the TV, square box TV on top and the VHS player on the bottom. And we had representatives from UArts come to Cleveland School of the Arts, where I studied from like 5th grade to 12th grade. And they popped in this VHS tape, and literally, I swear the TV went from black and white to color. Like, it just, this avenue of the arts and everything that was going on, and the murals and the singers at the time that were here and the performers and the dancers, I literally locked into that screen and was like, that's where I'm going. So I actually came up to audition in November of 1999. It's a long story, but I really, really wanted to come. So I saved up my money from my job at McDonald's and purchased my own Greyhound ticket to get here, auditioned, and then had to wait for the snail mail to come because you didn't get emails in the late 90s. You had to wait for a letter of, admission to come in the mail. So I was on pins and needles, and I was just like, I hope I get in. And I did, because I was so nervous when I auditioned. So I came in the fall of 2000. I was turning, my birthday's at the end of August. So I was turning 18 as I moved here, and the city adopted me. And in school, I ended up, I started my career singing background vocals for artists like Bilal and Vivian Green, more pop artists and soul artists. And then after that, I continued to do that for a little while, and the city just kind of grabbed me and wouldn't let me go. So I've been here ever since.
Well, Laurin Talese, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much, Laurin.
You're welcome. So nice talking to you too.